Hi guys, welcome to Pedals Are People Too from 10 Man Heart. I'm Dan. This is Danny McClelland. I'm delighted that he's joining us today. We're going to have a run through Danny's rig. Danny's in two bands, and was formerly in a band called Wasps, who used some of the most mental guitar tones that I've ever heard in my life. So as soon as I heard him, I was like, I want Danny involved in this show. So Danny's in Pascal Will Not Survive This, and in Jealous of the Birds, as well as touring and recording guitarist, and was also in Wasps, which was a two-piece.
Yeah.
So I suppose, what's your bass level of tone? What's your guitar in the amp? What's your kind of setup that way?
Well, whenever I'm going for my basic tone, I would go for... I'm never usually at the first level of where effects should be. I'm never just clean. There's always something else going on. Like, even if I'm meant to do mainly clean for a song, I'll stick on a little boost. But I would have set grounds as like my philosophy for it. So clean, middle ground distortion, chunk,
Wasps,
chungus, just really big levels of that. Would you like to hear?
I would love to hear it, Clint. So you've got, is that a Telecaster?
This is a Faraday CT32, and they are fucking decent. Please sponsor me. They're great guitars, great cheap guitars, slender neck, played by like several math rock bands. Niall Kennedy from Soil Wish from Afar has one. He may have a higher model, but that was my
If
big
Niall
influence.
has one, that's pretty much as good an endorsement as you need.
That's
What
it.
about on the board? You've got ME80.
Yes.
How do you use that in conjunction with the individual pedals?
So everything on the left, that is my individual stump boxes. This blue one at the top left, that's my booster. And then beside that we have my Sweet Cream overdrive. And then we've got an OCD pedal clone ripoff called the Hustle Drive, and also a Big Muff clone called the Golden Plexi. And basically the last two there are fucking hectic. Completely fucking hectic distortions that I love. I whip out for solos and stuff to just like really affect for noisy rock. And then the ME80 is pushing all of my digital effects. So compression, octavator, delays, reverb, everything like that.
You
And
prefer the
everything in between.
multi-effect setup than a load of individuals?
Currently, at my financial state, yes. If I was rich and I could have a load of stump boxes, then yeah. But I honestly think, for practicality, I realized like way earlier on that I needed a multi-effect, because
But you wouldn't use the multi-effects for drive? You would use it for
mainly
for
just
your
digital.
effects?
Yeah.
Okay.
I learned the hard way from the manager of Jealous of the Birds not to use digital drive.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
And you're a recent convert to valve amps as well.
Yes.
What have we got? Which you probably can't see. But we've got Eleni here behind us. Tell us a bit about that.
So I know absolutely sweet F all about this amp, other than it is basically the equivalent to like an AC30, but it's Laney, and it has such a warm, crisp tone, and it kind of sounds like whenever you're playing it, like there's a little thing in the background, kind of like a vinyl scratch, and I love it. I adore it. It's so warm.
Give us a go on what would be something like your clean but not exactly clean
Yes.
tone,
So-
if you don't mind.
So clean. But I would mainly use a little crunch, because if I'm playing clean or anything like that, I'm playing in Jealous of the Birds, which that song I was playing there is Russian Doll. And I think like the best way I always do it is to try and complement whatever else is going on. So even if it's just the lightest, crispiest distortion, like hear that little sting.
It's so responsive to how you're digging in
Yeah.
on the pick, so you're in control of how clean it is.
Yes.
And would you use the volume much to roll off, or is it more to do with your attack?
I would mainly only use the tone to roll off, especially for like a slower song or like really light guitar, because I like to go in either on the middle or rhythm. I try to avoid the treble. I guess Nolan Donnelly of Muslim Strange has beat that into me. he is an all rhythm man.
Yeah, well, or another friend of the show, Ethan Hanna, wants a Telecaster but doesn't like the twang,
Yeah.
famously. So, I mean, I don't know where that stacks up.
Yeah.
So, what about, you know, if we're looking at some of that's your kind of cleaner tone. If you're pushing into, like, if we go to Pascal Will Not Survive This,
Yes.
that's kind of, it's almost like lo-fi kind of rock.
Yeah.
Where then do you take it for that?
Well, I would kind of keep my instruments as the middle ground of Pascal. So kind of a similar tone to Jealous of the Birds, but there is a song we have that is codenamed Beefy, and I use the fuzz for it, and it's also got a bit of tape delay on it. So we tune down.
Of course you do.
We tune down here at Pedals Are People Too. So it would kind of go tape delay, slight crunch into, oh, actually boost. Don't listen to me, I'm drunk.
So when you're writing something like that, what comes first? Does the riff come first, or do you maybe hit something on the delay that inspires the riff?
That's a really good question because
Thank you.
Validation. I am a firm believer in playing the effect. I think that, like, there's so many great songs. Like, obviously, it's a whole different craftsmanship for music. You could sit down with an acoustic and you could write absolute belter song, but I love hearing musicians that absolutely exploit effects to everything that they can do. And So I Watch From Afar is a great example.
I knew that was coming as there's no point in asking you what your kind of cornerstone influence guitarists are.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It's gonna be those guys, you know, like, and you don't need to look too much further else.
That's true, yeah. Another big influence I would say is Jack White for his octavator solos, because that was the first thing that ever made me fall in love with guitar. I heard Ball and the Biscuit by the White Stripes, and I didn't like the White Stripes. I only liked the Raconteurs because I was weird.
Love the Raconteurs.
I know, they're so good.
I'm so glad that they're coming back as well.
Yes, I'm so happy about that. So I heard this song, Ball and the Biscuit by the White Stripes, so I was like, that's a weird name, I wanted to hear it. And the solos in it absolutely melt my heart and stomach. It feels like I'm listening to the song for the first time every time I hear that song, and I've never had that before. And I feel like it's because it was the first time I discovered octavator solos that just shriek the hell out of
It was
the
one of
phone.
those things that just opened up a whole different level for you in guitar
Oh,
playing.
hell yeah. It was the first time that, like, I heard that. I googled, like, how does Jack White make his guitar sound? Not the register that it's in. Found octavator pedals, and ever since, it's been a wild ride.
And that brings us on quite nicely to Wasps.
Yes, it does,
Which
yes.
was one of the first times that I saw you play.
Yep.
Wasps no longer going, unfortunately, but moved on to different things.
Yep.
But one of the things was it was a two-piece band, so there's a hell of a lot of space to fill.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have thought you were a two-piece band.
Yeah. I got that
It sounded
lot.
like there was about 8 of you.
Yeah.
But
All
how
on
did
distortion.
how did you do that? How did you get so much out of just your guitar?
Well, a big thing would be is that I would always come up with riffs, and then if I didn't come up with a riff, Charlie would come up with a beat, and then once you kind of like sync that up, the next step is obviously the pedals and how do you fill that out. And a lot of the time, I would push all of my signals through a guitar amp and a bass amp, and it really, really, really complements the sub octaves whenever the choruses come in.
So are you splitting the signal before or after the dirt?
So the sub octave is actually just clean.
Okay.
And well, there was some times where I would put on, some distortion, just to like make it like a bit dirtier if I'm not gonna go full on fuzz first. Yeah. But mainly clean because the guitar tone would already be so bassy and heavy and sharp and crisp that you needed something driving in the background that was clear and audible for the notes.
So that's a lot for you to balance. Usually, a band will have another guitarist
Yes.
or a bassist.
Yeah.
You're writing riffs and having to think how to build that
Yes.
kind of sound.
Well, a big thing about Wasp that I always took in like to consideration when I was writing a song is that I played like a bassist. There's chords there.
Yeah.
But like I think that like if you're gonna do that, you need to really have a firm idea of what the rhythm is, and you need to follow it.
Well, sure. Give us an idea of one of the Wasp songs and how you would have built that.
Okay, cool. This is Battle for Tokyo.
So play it clean. We'll do like. Do you ever see Bill Bailey doing like a power cut at a U2 concert?
Yeah.
And he's just playing like Jingle Bells. Give us a clean.
Yeah, that's
And then we'll build it up from there and see how you've done that.
sweet. No problem. So Battle for Tokyo would start off like, hold on, am I still in drop D? Hell yeah. So that's it clean, and it just sounds like a technical little riff, like to the ear there. But when you mask it with absolutely everything here, it sounds pretty fucking heavy.
So what's the first effect you've knocked on there?
That is my octave.
Okay.
So for a while, not gonna lie, was using a Boss super octaver, didn't like it, thought it sucked, used a couple of other octavers. I was like,
So it's trial and error that's
Yeah.
brought you back to the multi effects.
yeah, because just trying to split a signal unless you have an ABY pedal is absolutely mental. And on a budget, I already have my ME80, and from the port that this lead exits, the bass tone is just so pure that it's really hard to rival. For the sake of this song, I'm going to put on a little tiny bit of overdrive from the pedal.
Okay.
If you'll let me use digital overdrive.
I think we'll let it go. Just don't let Declan.
Yeah. Class. Let's get this sorted here. Also, I have learned from using an ME80 that I remember every setting by digital numbers. And it's actually...
So you just have like a catalogue going on in the back of your mind.
all the
You're
time.
coming up to the end of the song and thinking, I need to go to 44.
Yes, I am literally. I am thinking like I have in Born Only Yesterday, which is my like oldest band, still going to just like a big passion project. It's mainly delay based, and I have a setting that's 32 for the delay there. For Wasps, it was 34, and for Jealous of the Birds, it's usually 40, and it's like that shouldn't matter. That shouldn't be relevant.
You're
in
the
my
Carol Vorderman of Northern Irish music.
I'll take that. So
So we've got the octaver on and we've got a little bit of digital but dirt nevertheless.
So this is Battle for Tokyo. So that's the dirt on top of the clean,
Yeah.
and that's practically half of Wasps.
What about like, do you get attachment to your pedals? Because I know for me anyway, a guitar is a very personal thing, and there's some things on my board, my Tube Screamer, for example,
Oh my
or
God, what a
the
great
treble
pedal.
booster that I just wouldn't be without.
Yeah.
Are you attached to pedals and guitars and amps, or is it just like a tool? Is it just something that you use at the time, and then it does the job that it needs to do, and maybe for something else you get something else? It's not sentimental.
Yeah. Well, let me lay this down. It's not a tool. Pedals are people too. I wanted to say that, but like, no, I'm emotionally attached to all my pedals. Even that one that I hated, the sub octave one. Like, that Ash is using that now for his 2-piece band Cook, and like even when I see it on the board, I still get proud. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like having a bunch of like little kids that are fucking little geniuses, you know, and you're the mama, and you gotta raise them right and make sure that they go into the places where they're meant to go. I love pedals, I love guitars, and I get overly sentimental about everything. So
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
That's what we like to hear. What's the next? Like, what are you missing from me, bro? What are you looking at and thinking, this is what I need to kind of get to the next level of sound? Or, you know, is there a specific type of effect that maybe isn't covered on the multi-effects or could be done better in an individual pedal? Is there anything that you kind of look at and think, I wouldn't mind getting my hands on one of those?
I really love those delay pedals that have like 2 stumps, so you can have 2 different times of delay on it. Because I would use my, like, from here, my long delay.
Yeah.
This is my short delay, and this would be my oscillation. But
do you want to give us an example of how
course,
you set that up, and you can rattle through the numbers?
Yeah. So number 16. Yes. Also, this pedal can be dodgy sometimes and just throw the matrix at you, like. So.
Okay.
So what we have at the moment, I'll start off with my tape delay, which actually shouldn't have been at that length. And that's a nice little like 60s delay.
Just a bit
I
of
like
slap
to call
back.
it. Yeah. So that would be like the Was song. Which way did you go? Just filling out that space. But then if you want to like amplify that, you can add on another long delay. And I'm gonna go 34 here. So just that again, but and it has its own beat, it has its own rhythm, but on top of that,
How tight do you go to keep that in time, or do you like it sometimes just being slightly out of time with the song? Because I know some people are really like strict, and you know they've got the top tempo going, and they're, although a drummer might fluctuate slightly, they'll adapt. And if you're not playing with a click track, you have to adapt even more. Do you stay very tightly to how that's done, or do you like a bit of kind of chaos and a bit of fluidity?
I try to like have my delay warped around what the rhythm is doing, but if I'm writing the song, then the rhythm would have to stick to the delay, obviously. But there's definitely times in Jealous of the Birds' set, and even Pascal will not survive this, where I would turn on a lot of delays, knowing that there's no sense from the delays for noise or for, you know, like the craftsmanship of it, of like just providing textures, because I love that. Like I don't think there's any like clear way to do it. I've never been a tap person. I know that sounds weird. A lot of people are so precise about that. I've never encountered an issue. Like if I am like, oh wow, that's not right, like I'll literally go down and then hear it, you know, and sense it out like there. Cause
are you a twiddler whenever you're on stage? Or are you constantly like dipping down and just twiddling around?
There's so many times where like Naomi just turns around and she's like, you know, just like having the stage presence going around and see what I'm doing, and I'm like, you know, just at the board, like.
You just disappeared down behind a monitor somewhere, like.
That's it, like. But that's how I would go about that. If I could show you the oscillation delay.
Yeah, cool.
So currently, without the oscillation, say this is what we have. And that's just nice for dragging stuff out. The oscillation pulled back on the expression pedal will give you an extra beat that echoes. So
yeah,
you hear that automatically. Let's get that one more time. So, but the oscillation is my baby, the absolute pedal that I can't live without. In fact, Declan and I were talking about getting rid of the ME80 at one point, and I know that's a shock horror, like, but we actually gave up because we couldn't find a pedal that did this.
Well, that's the thing. If you can be a guitar snob and you can be a pedal snob all you like, but if you can't find something that does it better,
yes, yeah,
why not use it? You
exactly,
know?
yeah.
I've banned multi-effects from Ethan Hanna's band, and I don't need to ban them from Sonia's band because I'm the guitarist and the bassist plays clean. But if you can't find something, then that's what they're there for.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that this effect here, if anybody's watching this and they know a pedal that can't do this, please show it to me. I doubt I'll ever give this up, but please show it to me because I adore this pedal. And the oscillation there, as we saw, it was a slow pan, an echo, but it could be sped up. That's the whole point of this, and this is why I love it so much. And it's so versatile. That pullback is lovely. I love it so much. But at the same time, there's also a Jealous of the Birds song called Clementina. It's off the new EP that we just released. And it uses that exact effect, but in the most delicate, angelic way. So it's just...
That's so nice.
I love it.
There's like 6 songs on Ethan's album that I basically need that for.
Yeah.
So if you do find another pedal,
Yeah.
let me know.
Until then, hit me up if you want to lend the M80.
I'm just at the minute I'm just layering up delays to get that. I've
Yeah.
got like 2 different delay pedals running with slightly different, a bit like what you've got, but that takes it.
Yeah, this thing will echo out forever.
So did you bring that to the writing stage of that, or was that in the song and then you had to replicate it and that's how you did it?
Funny thing about that, which I'm really proud of, is that I was a huge fan of Jealous of the Birds for 2 years before I joined. So any idea where I would get to write a Jealous of the Birds song or like contribute, that would be absolutely amazing. When I first joined, an EP was recorded with all the band members that were in at the time. And Naomi, but Naomi had like wrote most of the stuff. So Naomi went in the second time for an EP to do it mostly herself, and Clementina was a song off that. But in the practice room, like I was told, whenever I first joined, to like wing a lot of stuff so that we could see what melodies I could come up with. And when we played Clementina for the first time, I did that, and then I kept doing it a few practices, and then we convinced Naomi to put it on the EP,
Cool.
and she was like, I have to have the ending. Like, you need to show me what you're doing in the ending. So I've filmed myself doing that, like I just did there now. But I think Naomi recreated it with like probably like a blue sky and loads of other delays. Like, but
that's how you do it live.
Yeah,
and
that's how I do it.
that's how it's done whenever
Yeah.
you guys go out on tour.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, and I would use this for like freeform sections and stuff too, to give texture to the bass and drums, So
How much would you kind of, like you mentioned about winging it, with so much flexibility on your board, how kind of loose do you get with, maybe would you ever like kind of try something on the fly with an effect that you don't really use too often and just think on stage, I'm going to give that a go? Or do you kind of stay within the realms of what you know and what you're comfortable with?
I would say professionally I stay in the realms of what I know and what I'm comfortable with, but there's been some gigs where I'm like looking at my board and it's going so well and I'm like, you know what, today's the day to try out rotary. Like, what does this sound like, and like that's happened a few times, but only at Zul shows.
Okay.
Only at Zul shows, but
so it's in very special circumstances you're able to get that kind of flexibility. Well, Danny, thank you very much for coming and showing us your board. Is there any massive sounds that are a huge part of something that you do that we haven't touched on that you kind of want to show us, or is there something that you think is like a mental combination of effects?
Oh, can I show you one thing? Like, my born only yesterday delay of 32, I love it dearly. It's kind of really dancey. With just the delay, it's like. Love how that carries, but if you add an octave, it's like a whole new realm.
I can't wait to hear this already. As soon as you said octave, I was like, here we go.
I love using that example because that doesn't really sound like a guitar. It sounds like a synth most of the time, you know what I mean? Because if you have so many textures, like, you really exploit it for what it is. Because, like, if it doesn't sound digital, if it doesn't sound tinny, then play the damn thing like a synth, Play it however the hell you want.
On that note, we'll leave it at that. Danny, thank you very much for coming in. Cheers, really appreciate it. You can check Danny's stuff out with Jealous of the Birds. with Pascal Will Not Survive This, we're born only yesterday. Check out Wasps as well. They're part of Zool Records, which is a really cool collective and record label here in Belfast. This has been Pedals Are People Too. I'm Dan, and it's brought to you by Tim Manhart. You can check out more of what Tim Manhart does on tmhmusic.com. We've got record label stuff, we've got PR stuff, management, loads of stuff. Now we've got videos. Here we go.
They're cool.
So hit the subscribe and let us know what you think of the videos. Thanks very much.